Hi, in this short tutorial I will show you that you don't need a modern computer or even installed graphic software to create such visualizations literally in a few minutes. Sounds incredible? Watch this tutorial and see for yourself. To generate our visualization while maintaining some consistency and the shape of our house, we will need an outline of the house roughly like the one you see here. I created it using the free browser version of SketchUp. However, you could actually draw this house by hand or use another program and just take a regular print screen. I think that should work too. I admit that I didn't do any significant tests here. However, from what I played with this tool, it works really well and in a very simple way, which you will find out. So to start, if you want to create a similar house with me, then type in Google SketchUp Free, and you will find a browser-based free version of SketchUp in which you can create this type of house. I don't work with SketchUp on a daily basis, but it's such an intuitive program that if you have basic computer skills, I think you'll find your way around it. I'm not going to explain each function in detail here, because that's not what this tutorial is about. To start with, because it might not be clear to everyone, we can set or change the units, because by default they are inches, which as we know, are not very user-friendly units for Europeans, and we prefer to use centimeters. And to do this, we first need to go to the model info. Here on the right side, I have land units, and we can set the format to centimeters here. By default, if I remember correctly, it's architectural. So we change it to centimeters. Here, display precision I think can be set to 1 decimal place, and land snapping can be changed to 1 centimeter in this case. And that house, of course, I'm just going to eyeball it here. As I said, it's kind of a loose concept. I will start drawing my house by choosing the rectangle tool here. The shortcut is under the letter R. I click, and now I'm typing on the keyboard 1000, 1000, and I have the base of the house, 10 meters by 10 meters. Next, I will perform these operations rather by eye. You can create a house similar to mine or just make any other that comes to your mind. I will build a garage on the side of my house. Like I said, I'm doing everything by eye without worrying about exact measurements. I don't use SketchUp every day, so it's possible that some things can be done faster and more efficiently. But as you can see, even without using this tool regularly, it's very easy and quick to model with it. And I must admit that SketchUp is perfect for this. We'll add windows here. It might be possible to do this in a smarter way so that the windows have equal spacing between them. Maybe I'll try to copy. Well, something like that. And here I will delete these lines. It is important that we add some depth to these windows and this garage door to make it more understandable for Adobe. Now I will close these shapes. Okay, I will still want to create here a place for entry. And here at the top, we will create a large window. Well, as you can see, in a few minutes I created the outline of the house. I found that using Adobe Firefly, it will understand much better what we want to create here if we provide simple materials with texture for our object. Because otherwise everything will be uniform for it. With simple materials, it will be easier for Firefly to figure out where to place windows, doors, or if there should be boards here. Here on the left, we have a bucket tool. We can click the letter B. On the right, we have a browser, and here we can choose materials such as glass, mirrors, etc. I will choose blue glass to make it more obvious for him. We can assume that these doors are also glass. Then I will use concrete material for the walls. Okay, only the garage door is left. Let's say it will have horizontally aligned wooden boards. So I'm setting up a perspective roughly at the height of a human's eyes. Here we can go to scenes and, for example, change the perspective to make it a bit more dynamic. Something like that. Of course, you can do it completely differently, and once we set the view that suits us, we can save it. And here we have it. In the menu, download and save as a portable network graphics file. After saving the file, I deleted the SketchUp text just in case Adobe Firefly wanted to keep it, and I slightly corrected the perspective. If you do not have any editing software on your computer, you can use something like Photopea. All you need to do is type www.photopea.com in your browser. Photopea is like a free browser-based equivalent of Photoshop, so you don't even need to install anything. Here you can also make such modifications. Next, type firefly.adobe.com and you can immediately enter a prompt. Click Generate. However, if you don't enter anything and click Generate, then you'll be taken here to the generator, where you already have more options. Initially, you have 25 credits. I also recommend enabling fast mode at the beginning, which will result in faster generation of visualizations at a slightly lower resolution. However, if you like a particular graphic, you can enlarge it for 1 credit. I will leave the model unchanged. Firefly Image 3, there is probably no need to use an older version. Here I'll leave the proportions as 16 by 9. The content type is set to photo by default, so I left it that way. There are various options here. If you expand the styles, you can explore more, like effects and reference materials. We don't need that here. There are some different settings here, but I didn't use them when creating these visualizations. The only thing that interests me the most is the reference material composition, and here you upload our screenshot from SketchUp that we prepared earlier. And in the case of my visualization, I set the intensity here to maximum. It's like a slider. It may seem like you can move it freely, but it actually has 3 positions: minimum, let's say medium level, and maximum. Here I clean everything up. And at this moment, we enter our prompt here explaining what we want to achieve in our visualization. So I will enter here, create a realistic image of a minimalist concrete house surrounded by trees, grass, and greenery on a sunny day. And as you can see, I'm not changing anything else here. Just remember to add the reference graphic and I click Generate. It records in real time and you can see they create instantly. Here on the right you have buttons. You can change the display of these images, either as larger rectangles or a grid made up of 4 smaller images. As you can see after the change, these graphics are a bit blurry. But as I mentioned, if you like a specific one, just click Scale. As an interesting fact, I'll show you that the first time I generated these graphics, you can see here on the left, it insisted on adding some object, building, or some tree here. This happened because the first time I used a graphic that had the XYZ axis retained. And you see just one line could significantly change the final effect, so every line counts. So keep that in mind. I finally used the graphic which was cleaned up and I got rid of those axes so as not to give him unnecessary information. Okay, so as you can see, generating is very simple. If, for example, I decide that I want to have an autumn day now, all I need to do is type sunny autumn day. Click Generate. Can you see how simple it is? If you click here, History, you can see the history of your attempts. Just a warning, my previous attempts got erased just a moment ago after refreshing the browser, which surprised me a bit, so it's not really a history that saves permanently. Additionally, I created a winter version, so now I'll enter, create a realistic graphic of a minimalist concrete house surrounded by trees in a winter scene with a snowman. The snowmen might not have turned out the best. They're a bit awkward, but you can tell he understands what I'm getting at and he actually made a snowman in the yard. If we did 2 or 3 more attempts, we would have a total of about 12 visualizations, from which we could definitely choose one that suits us. Also note that Firefly has created a very interesting light. He also made a version with warm light for indoors, so you really have to admit that he's doing very well. If a particular visualization suits you best, all you need to do is click on it, scale, and in less than 10 seconds it sharpens and will soon be in really decent quality. This is a resolution of about 2000 pixels on the longer side. Of course, you'll find some artifacts here, something blurs here. These lines don't quite match up. But as I was saying, for conceptual visualizations, if you just want to show the client how you imagine the house roughly, with black montines, the concrete facade, it will be perfect. Or if you want to present a student project where details are not that important, I think it gives really great results and will work excellently, especially since you saw how with little work, something like this can be created. You can create a simple outline of a house in SketchUp Free, put it into Firefly, write literally one sentence, and we get really convincing visualizations. In the case of classic 3D software like SketchUp or 3ds Max, preparing such a visualization would take many hours, even for an experienced person. For someone who doesn't deal with this daily, it would take much more time and the effect certainly wouldn't be as good. If you enjoyed this tutorial, subscribe to our channel and like the video. If you want to learn more about creating visualizations, 3D models, and artificial intelligence, I invite you to visit cgwisdom.com, where you will find many courses on programs such as 3ds Max, SketchUp, Revit, and many others. Be sure to check it out. Thanks for watching,